We're getting some first data in from Republic C voter, and that is showing, if I'm not mistaken, that the NDA is getting 287.
Yeah,
let's
BJP
just put that
plus.
figure up on the screen. Or 287, and Times Now has also come up with this number.
Right, so the Times Now VMR poll is at
306
for the NDA, and it's 287 for the C voter Republic poll. And
Yes.
Vasu, if you can
Yes,
break
and
down
Congress
the numbers.
is 128 for Republic C voter, and this is Congress plus, so UPA, and 142 for in the Times Now poll, and the others are 127 in Republic and 94 in the Times Now VMR poll. So to your point about ab ki baar 300 par, so according to Times Now 300 par ho gaya.
No, so let me complete my point. So we, as a political party or as a student of policy making, I would rather see the entry polls which are there 6 months before, and that gives you reason to understand what are the needs of the voters, what are the pulse there, and you decide your decisions of making the strategy accordingly.
Okay, but
exit poll post the last day of voting, it's a good thing to keep it alive till the actual numbers come out.
okay, but now the numbers are coming, so let's talk a little bit about the numbers. We just had the Delhi number was flashed by one of the polling agencies that said 7-0 to the BJP. I'm not sure which particular polling agency that was, but let's just try and put that. India TV.
Can they
India TV is saying,
font because,
is saying 7-0 to the BJP, and now on screen you have Madhya Pradesh. This is Access My India. Now we've gone back to Delhi. So it's 7-0 for the BJP in Delhi. So exact repeat of 2014. Madhya Pradesh.
Access My India now.
Access
Okay.
My India 26 to 28 for the BJP, 1 to 3 for the Congress, 0 to the BSP and FP. So again, pretty much
So that
then
would
a
be
repeat
like
of
2014.
2014. So this is like virtually turning out to be looking like Neelanjan, just based on these numbers, almost like a repeat of 2014. Perhaps a slight reduction in numbers, but pretty much like kind of a BJP NDA sweep.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to go back and see what the breakdown is, especially because we thought the BJP might be breaking into some places in the east, right? So is it a situation where at least a few are going in the Hindi belt and they're being made up in Orissa and West Bengal, or is it a situation where it looks exactly like 2014, where there was a lot of geographic specificity to the BJP's win?
Right. Shama, you want your quick first comments on this?
I want to comment is I was just going through this agencies, and I see here Access is only 38% accuracy, C voter is 15% accuracy, CSDS is 0%, Chanakya is 25%. So I don't know on what basis are we going on this. Let's wait till the 23rd, because I don't believe in this. We've gone
now
wrong.
you have come on the 19th, so give us some.
Yes, I know.
Flip the numbers and let us once again ask her.
So
let's
even,
flip the number for her.
like you said, the Australian, yesterday, even I met a lady, Australian lady, and she's saying, I'm shocked because the Labour was supposed to be winning. What happened, we don't know.
So when we're doing exit polls, we are all acting under a certain assumption that these are broadly the numbers that we are accepting. We're not saying that we necessarily have to believe exit polls, but this is like something
No,
that
I don't
we just
want to accept this number.
No, I'm not saying you accept it as gospel truth, but let's assume these numbers are true. What would you make of it?
I'm not assuming this number is true. That's
Okay,
what
you're
I'm going
saying
to say.
exit polls generally are flawed. So
I mean,
why go by
80%
this?
of the time the news, the English channels exit polls have been wrong. It's known. So I'm not going to go with this. That's
Okay.
it.
But but you've come here, so
I've come here, but I'm not agreeing to these. I'm not agreeing to these numbers. That's
Okay.
what I'm
but
saying.
if it had been,
flip the numbers.
if it
If it
had
happens,
shown,
we'll see on the 23rd. That's what I'm saying.
it'll
Let's
be
wait
interesting
till
to
the
see what
23rd.
the individual breakup is of parties as well. This
Yes.
is the News 18 poll, which well, it's flipping so fast, but this is what the All India picture looks like right now. The NDA anywhere between 280 to 290. Could we just slow down the sticker that's
Yes,
changing
that's right.
so that we can actually read it? Okay, all right, it's automated. So if you can read faster with your glasses.
I mean, it's pretty straightforward. It's showing that the NDA
Is winning.
Yeah. It's winning by very, very comfortably. But we also have an Andhra number there.
Yeah.
TDP 10 to 12, YSRP is about 13 to 14. And I think that we still have with us Mr. Mithun Reddy of the YSRCP. Can we just go across to him and get his quick reaction?
Mr. Reddy is not quite
To
showing
this.
the sweep perhaps that Jagan Reddy would have wanted.
Yes. It's sort of showing split down the middle.
I think the results will be much better than the exit polls, because all the pre-polls have also predicted YSRCP victory, the most of them. And I'm sure all the exit polls also going to give us a comfortable victory. So, we expect more. We have something like close to 18 to 21 out of 25 parliament seats. But still, most of the exit polls, I think, which have come out now, have given us a clear majority. So I think our leader Jagan Mohan Reddy's Padayatra, which he did for like about 3,650 kilometers, is paying off, and the trust the people have been reposed in these elections. I think it will come out in the numbers. I think these numbers will be better off on 23rd. Like everybody is wishing.
Okay.
We wish our numbers to be much better than what's being predicted.
Okay, so there are actually two exit polls, Vasu, that are showing the NDA crossing 300. You have the Republic TV Jan Ki Baat poll, which gives them 305, and the Times Now VMR poll, which gives them 306. So both of them showing the NDA crossing 300 plus there.
Right. Amitabh, do you want to respond to this, or are you also rejecting exit polls outright?
No, I mean, we have to take them for what they are. They are exit polls. If the results look like this, is obviously good news for the BJP. Generally, when you have a big gap in the vote, it does get picked up in the exit polls. I wouldn't put much faith in the state level numbers. State level numbers tend to be all over the place in exit polls, and very often they're not wrong. But if the Chhattisgarh and MP results are even remotely representative, that's very good news for the BJP. It's not consistent with my experience on the ground and so on, but we have to accept the numbers for what they are for the purposes of this program, certainly.
It'll be interesting to see also then what the Rajasthan numbers are, Aarti Jairath, because Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh, the two seats the Congress just won a few months ago, but in both the assembly elections there, the margins were very narrow. The BJP barely, I mean the Congress barely was able to cross the halfway mark in Rajasthan. Madhya Pradesh was not that much different. Does this surprise you, if this is actually correct, that there would be a BJP sweep in Madhya Pradesh the way that it is, a virtual repeat of last time, and possibly Rajasthan as well, given that they're both showing 300 plus for the NDA?
No, very much. And, to go back to what we were talking about, turnout. I mean, if you remember, Madhya Pradesh showed a surge in turnout. So has Rajasthan shown a surge in turnout, which I think the Hindustan Times interpreted as being something which would go in favor of the Congress. But these numbers don't show that. So, I mean, I really don't know what to make of them. Maybe it just, maybe all of us who traveled have really misread, what we saw, and the pollsters have got it right. They've seen something that, journalists have not seen, which
there is, in fact, quickly the Rajasthan numbers before they changed. 21 says Times Now VMR, and Aaj Tak Axis says between 23 to 25. So, really not being able to translate the gains.
But
so
I will say this. I will say this about Rajasthan. That if you remember, even at the time of the assembly elections, the thing that we kept hearing from everybody who went was that we, in the assembly elections, we are going to vote against the BJP because we want Vasundhara out. But for the Lok Sabha elections, we will go back to Modi. That was a almost unanimous refrain actually through. So I mean, these figures would confirm.
But Modi tujhse bair nahi, Vasundhara teri khair nahi. This was the slogan.
So if we look at the poll of polls until now, just the average number of whatever we know so far, it is the NDA at 298 and the Congress plus whoever its pre-poll allies are at 128. It'll be interesting to see what the individual number for the Congress is. But then, Shama, I know you don't want to comment on this, but please let's not pretend that these are the numbers. That would mean the Congress is under 100, and that would be a very, very disappointing performance for the Congress party. I mean, would you concede that if the Congress falls below 100, then there is a serious question mark on Rahul Gandhi's leadership?
No. First and foremost, I will not concede will be less than 100. I cannot concede when I'm sure that it's going to be above 100. It cannot be.
But there are
so many states. If you look at state-wise, if you look at our allies, we have the southern part. I don't know where BJP is going to be winning. Where are they getting the numbers from in the southern part of India? And now you're saying MP. Which state?
From your home state,
No,
Karnataka.
my home state, it's going to be, I was traveling there, and it's going to be Congress and a few, maybe one or two to the CPM, but it is a sweep because it was very pro Rahul Gandhi.
The exit polls, by the way, there are some Karnataka numbers also that have come, which are actually not showing what you're saying. It's pretty much showing again a repeat of last time, that the BJP is going to end up with 17 to 18. So that JDS Congress alliance, again, as per the exit poll, does not seem to have worked.
But if the exit polls are, that's what I've just quoted certain of them where they've been, not a single one of those have, it's 15, 0, 25, 38%, and nothing 50% also. So I mean, that is what the exit polls are, because for me, from the southern states, what I see, and again, they keep saying Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh. UP is also going to be a shocker for the Bharatiya Janata Party. Even West Bengal, the way they say that they're going to get those numbers, I would not agree on it.
So the UP numbers haven't come yet, but I mean, obviously, if the NDA is going to cross 300 as per at least two of these polls and the average is 298, then Aarti Jairath, what you were saying about UP earlier doesn't hold.
Completely.
It means that
they have done almost as well.
Enough.
Yes, absolutely. And that the Modi factor did really work to the BJP's advantage, because they have more or less held on to the numbers that they had in 2014. I mean, that's what these
that's now. So that is now, I think, all the. If we can somehow just hold that graphic on screen for a bit, so that we just have a chance to absorb it before we move on. So now we are looking at polls by Sudarshan News, which is 300 plus to the NDA. Republic C voter is about 287, and then we have Suvarna News, which is again between 290 to 300, and News Nation, which is again in that range. So almost 4 of these polls, Neelanjan, are all pretty much saying the same thing.
That's right. I mean, I think if we were to take, without very serious polling error, and I'm not to say that it doesn't happen, this is a fairly consistent trend, and I suspect, based on other reports that we're getting, that these are the kinds of numbers that are going to hold across almost all of the polls.
Right. So what this could end up suggesting, Sudhin Kulkarni, is that even because we still have to unpackage the state-wise numbers, again, just with the health warning that if this is correct, that this may well suggest that the BJP has taken a hit in Uttar Pradesh, perhaps not as much as many people believe they would, but it may have made significant gains in, let's say, Odisha and West Bengal to offset it. So then net you end up roughly where you were.
You know, at the beginning of the debate, I said that in this election before 23, there are many possibilities but no certainty. This is certainly one of the possibilities that might become the actual result.
Right.
Cannot be ruled out.
Right.
At the same time, exit polls, you know, I was part of the government, part of the BJP in 2004,
yes,
when every single exit poll
India
said
shining.
that Vajpayee is going to come back.
Yes.
Every single exit poll.
Yes.
And every single exit poll got it wrong. And
I'm presuming, though, we've improved our methodology or
possible.
doing exit polls.
Of course,
since
you know, exit poll is a science, and with every election it improves. That cannot be ruled out. But as two things: one, this can be a this can be a possibility. At the same time, exit polls might get even the trend wrong.
Oh, well, let me just get Geeta Bhatt's first thoughts on this. I mean, the range is basically between 282 for the NDA up to 315, and so there's more or less, you know, within that 40-50 seat range. Is this roughly what you predict as well?
Well, yes, I mean, not just on the basis of, you know, what the exit polls are showing, but like more or less, you know, wherever we have been talking earlier, and the ground reports which have been coming, you know, people who have been visiting, of course, Aarti ji is also there, and there are many other people, the TV journalists who have been going all around, you know, to interior villages and interviewing people. You know, that the way the various social welfare schemes have been, you know, delivered all across the states, it gave a kind of a feedback that people are generally happy with the present government at the center. You know, a lot of people, I mean, I have seen it in, you know, on so many news channels as well as those who've been going, you know, in the print media. So that kind
You're
of
saying
a
it's
response,
consistent with the feedback.
It has been, yes. So that consistent feedback somehow correlates with the exit poll. But of course, 23rd is going to be, you know, the
No,
final
of course.
number.
But again, Shama, okay, forget the numbers.
Just now,
because
you said Suvarna News, Sudarshan News. Who are these? I mean,
No, I know.
Where are they
exactly.
getting their samples?
Exactly.
That's my question.
So forget
What is the
Suvarna and Sudarshan.
authenticity of these?
Forget
these
Sudarshan.
people
Look
you've
at
been
C.
talking
Let us look at
about?
C voter,
I mean,
even
we need
access.
some
In fact,
authentic pollsters.
Just look at
mix
the
of
poll
both,
of polls. If you look at the poll of polls right now, it's 300 plus for the NDA. I mean, it's 300 for the NDA. That's the average that we're getting, and about 127 for the Congress plus its allies. Which again, I come to the point. For even if you have to forget the numbers, would you accept that these polls are at least giving us an idea of what may happen? I mean, they may be off by a few seats, but is there a general trend that emerges from this?
See, I wouldn't say there's a general trend. What I would say is, okay, we will look into
Because
this.
they're all saying one thing.
See, again, I'm going to say again that even you asked, isn't the methodology different right now from 2004 to Mr. Kulkarni? But what about Australia yesterday? I mean, they are also using new methods, isn't it? In Australia, you had a big shocker. For the whole of Australia, they were expecting the Labour to win, and the Conservatives have come back. They thought Morrison is going to be the shortest Prime Minister in the history of Australia. And now that's in 2019. So how did they go wrong there? You know, it's also a new methodology they must be using, not what we had in 2004.
Okay,
so that's what I'm trying to say is, and the samples, India is
Yeah.
a big country, we need the right samples. So I still don't go with it, and if it is, then, you know, for me it is...
Okay, here's another number, Nidhi, which has just come in. Ati, just a second. In fact, I want you and all of you to comment on this. We are getting now some breakup of UP. So in UP, what we're getting is, and these are based on just 2 polls, that BJP plus is at 55, Mahagathbandhan is at 23, and Congress is at 2.
Yes, but this is based on 2 polls.
So this is based on 2 polls,
yeah,
yes.
Times Now, the C Voter poll, and the Sudarshan TV poll.
What's Times Now? What is the credibility of Times Now?
Well,
we've seen Times Now.
There is a poll they've done with C Voter. Yashwant Deshmukh, I think, C Voter.
I just want to raise a question here. When these pollsters go, I mean, I'm not questioning the authenticity or credibility of these polls, and as Pranoy has pointed out in his book, 97% of the time the exit polls do get the trend right and everything. But I'm just raising a question. Is there a fear factor at work here that, you know, is making every poll more or less show the same thing? That when these pollsters went out into the field, the voter is too scared
the TV channels or the voters?
The voter. The voter is too scared to answer honestly which side he voted. Is there a fear factor?
So there has
because
been...
there seems to be this remarkable consistency, you know, there is almost like a uniformity in the numbers that we're seeing.
Maybe because that's
yeah.
how they voted.
Yeah,
I mean,
maybe that's because everyone's...
Maybe, but I'm just raising this question, that is there a fear factor that could have been at work?
Okay, so I don't know if you experienced this when you travel, just a second, I don't know if you experienced this when you travel, but I did come across some phenomena of the so-called silent voter, where after you switch off the cameras and you talk to them, they tell you a very different thing. And largely the trend was on camera, they'll tell you they're pro-BJP. When you switch off the camera, they say we're not voting for the BJP. This was not happening with the other side. But Neelanjan, these are anecdotal instances, right? It happens on 1 or 2 instances. You can't generally, you can't generalize from this that there was some huge silent voter, can you?
Let me at least give the other case, which I think nobody here has made, right? So if you take the data points that Pranoy Roy have put together and the data points that Shama, for instance, mentioned, what it's telling you is that you can get a trend in terms of who is winning, and that to that extent exit polls have been very accurate.
Right.
The data that Shama was quoting was showing that when seat ranges are given, they're often wrong.
Off the mark.
Yeah. So what might be happening, what is entirely plausible here, is that the vote shares are correct, the polls have broadly gone well, right? But converting vote share to seat share is actually incredibly difficult. It requires a lot of sample within a seat and very little bias in polling in that seat, right? And so it could be that broadly these guys are seeing the correct trend in terms of who's winning, what the vote share, but actually the NDA seats go up or down 30, 40, I mean that would not be unusual, right?
Sure.
I think what's also emerging from these poll of polls is, again, I'm coming to the Congress point, is that, Vasu, if you look at the states where it's a direct BJP-Congress contest, the Congress is not coming off well at all. Whether it's Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Delhi also, well, it's kind of split between up there.
Yes.
But Chhattisgarh as well, which is, again, you know, where the Congress did particularly well.
The Gujarat numbers.
And, you know, there, Shama, again, sorry, let me ask Amitabh about that. Amitabh, you know, just your thoughts on that in these direct fights, the Congress is not coming off very well at all, at least according to these numbers.
See, again, taking these numbers at face value, obviously, what you're saying is correct. Now, the thing to remember is that if you use 2014, if you're comparing parliamentary with parliamentary, in Madhya Pradesh, the vote gap between Congress and BJP was 20 percentage points. In Rajasthan, it was 25 percentage points. In the state elections, you saw movement towards Congress 4, 5, 6%. Say in a general election, it will be bigger. So there's still a very huge gap to cover. And if these results hold, and these are surprising results, absolutely, one major reason would be that the vote gap was so giant that even a movement towards Congress here didn't translate into seats. The reason I'm saying it's a surprise result is that the numbers seem very similar to 2014, which is what you wouldn't expect if there was a narrowing. So, which is why I'm a little skeptical, but we have to accept the numbers for the purpose of this program.
Right. Okay. So anyway, the big headline really at the moment for those tuning in is that if you just go by the exit polls that are coming in, this looks like it's going to be a repeat of the Modi Sircar coming back. NDA 3 comfortably back on track, just going by the exit poll numbers that we have on screen. Satyaprakash Mishra, spokesperson JDU, do you broadly also agree that this is what you've been seeing all along? And would you largely give credit to this to whom? Would you say that this is a combined team effort of the NDA, or would you largely give credit to Narendra Modi?
No, definitely the team effort of the NDA, and Narendra Modi was leading this team, so the credit goes in his pocket as well. You know, when it comes to the 300, I must say on 23rd, the Congress will then talk about again the EVM failure and some allegation you will see regarding EVM. Congress never accept any kind of exit poll when it goes against of Congress, and definitely no political party would accept that. But at the same point of time, we should at least respect some kind of, even it fails in 2004, but this 300 figure this time is going above 340 even.
340?
Yeah.
Throwing it.
Wait for 23rd.
Wait for 23rd. That's the caveat. Just interesting. If you look at the individual states again, Haryana 10-0. Again, BJP Congress head to head. Gujarat also, I think, just showed 26-0. That means.
I don't agree.
Are you going to comment on the numbers now? At least Amitabh is saying, that for the sake of this program.
Speaking about voter percentage, I was just looking at some, this thing is that in 2009, the percentage of votes they got, Bharatiya Janata Party was 18% and the seats they got were 116. But in 14, we got 19% votes, but the seats we got were 44. So I don't believe the voter percentage, I'm not talking about this, but I was just taking a point from Neelanjan that voter percentage exactly don't translate into the number of seats, because it is.
In fact, two polls are actually showing the Congress getting a drubbing in Gujarat. I mean, I think the Congress was internally hoping maybe 5 seats.
And one of them today is, by the way, Aaj Tak Axis My India. So, I mean, to the point about, pollsters of somewhat questionable provenance, Axis generally, one could say, is one of the more, the more
so
credible
Axis is also 38%.
I just like to point out, Shama.
It's 38%, Axis accuracy is 38%.
Shama, I just like to...
Chanakya is 25%.
Right. Yeah, I just like to, sort of pick a point with you on this thing of vote share. When you say 19% or 31%, it's true. The BJP, All India, got a vote share of only 31%, but that's because there were many states in which they barely polled anything at all. But the states it won, the states it swept in the Hindi belt, their vote shares were actually above 40%. It was 40, 41, 42, 43. The margins of victory were huge, 1 lakh, 2 lakhs sometimes. So, that 31% national vote share figure should not be seen in isolation. You have to look at it from state to state and see, where the BJP is scoring very high. So your 19%, which netted you only 44 seats, is because, because your vote share may have been spread out all over.
There were many more wasted votes for the Congress than there were for the BJP. The BJP wasted very few votes.
So, this argument really doesn't hold.
But, if you just were to, again, just take a deep breath, step back and look at what is happening, I think the big question to ask here is that how did the BJP manage to turn around the reversals of the assembly elections? Because till those assembly elections, let's face it, the BJP looked anyway to be back on track and to be turning up with numbers like this. It's only after the assembly polls that there was a sense that there could be a downslide. And that reversal, I think, has been quite interesting because there were a number of steps that the BJP took.
Absolutely.
It announced, the PM Kisan announcement, for example.
Right. In the budget, they took a lot of steps.
In the budget, they took steps. They had the 10% reservation for the upper castes.
And then, of course, came Balakot, which I think, although it was maybe not being talked about in the elections, towards the end.
Sure.
But I think just in terms of restoring the Prime Minister's image as a decisive, strong leader,
absolutely.
I think the Balakot strike just gave him a huge boost.
And I think they also milked it to the hilt.
But the
there was a complete milking of it to the hilt, whether you
No,
could say that
you're-
was
And
in
the
violative of
opposition-
the
but
norms of the
Vasu,
election
Vasu,
commission.
the media
opposition
definitely
didn't
helped.
have
I mean,
an
any
answer
channel,
to
they
it.
never question this. They don't question. We can't question the government of the day. I mean, your channel must be different, but the media definitely. What people see on Hindi channels, tell me which is the Hindi channel which speaks about, spoke against the government of the day. In 2014, we had a number of them. So the heartland is listening to the PM, is doing wonderful job. I mean, they have not talked about economy, the gas connections, the Swachh Bharat, our credit growth. I mean, there's nothing.
We have to
that
take a break.
there is-
Look,
look at the GDP.
the media might be part of it, but I think let's
Look
not
at the GDP.
underestimate what voters think for themselves.
even
Because I
I
think at the
want
end
to
of the
vote
day,
for
when
this.
people are voting, let's not underestimate what goes in
12
their minds
seats for the
when they make a
BJP
choice.
in
It's not
Odisha.
all brainwashing and propaganda.
But
People are making choices based on how their lives are
it
affected as
really
well.
helps also
It
this,
can't
the way
just be
it's
the
been.
media's fault and election
They've,
commission's fault and everyone
constantly-
else. Okay, we have to take a break. We'll be back at the top of the hour. More exit poll numbers are coming in, pretty much all showing the same thing at the moment. Let's see if anyone is any different. That's next. Welcome back. Well, the exit poll numbers have started coming in and there is a clear trend that is emerging from them. It is clear, at least from these exit polls, that the BJP is coming back to power. The NDA comfortably crossing the 300 mark as far as these polls are concerned, and the Congress really being drubbed in states where it is in a head-to-head contest, in particular with the BJP.
Absolutely. So as of now, the big headline is NDA 3 is back. NDA 3 is back. The Modi government gets another chance at power, and they are able to do this, again, going by these exit poll numbers, on their own. In the sense, there was all this talk that they may fall short, they may need to bring in fence sitters like Jagan Mohan Reddy and so on and so forth. That does not appear to have happened. On their own, the NDA at about 300, so they've dropped about 30 from 2014, but still they're comfortably placed to form their government on their own. And as Nidhi said, that in a lot of the Hindi heartland states where the Congress had done well in the assembly elections, it appears from these polls that they've not managed to hold on to those gains, and they've actually gone back to a 2014 position. These are again health warning, these are exit polls, and these are, Nidhi, I think based now on roughly an average of about 4 to 5
Look at the Orissa numbers.
polls.
Poll
And
of polls,
now we
10
have
each.
Orissa as well. Okay, 10 each, is that what the
Yeah,
poll of polls
yeah.
said? Okay, so again, we are getting the breakup of some of these states. You can see there on your screen there, Maharashtra 35 to the BJP Shiv Sena, Congress NCP 12, Madhya Pradesh BJP 25, Congress 4, Rajasthan 16-3. So some attrition to the BJP, but certainly nowhere near what was expected. And of course, there again is the poll of polls coming in from Orissa. There's somewhat of a
Quite a difference there.
quite a
The
difference there in Orissa
BJP
between the
anywhere from
different
3
channels.
to 12 seats, which is quite a wide gap. But if the poll of polls are any indication, then it actually shows them at 10 each, which is
Yeah.
which is
Also, we
interesting.
should wait to see, because Odisha and Andhra are also assembly elections. So it'll also be interesting to see whether we have some numbers from there as to how they've actually done as far as the assembly goes, because that's also going to be important. But overall, it does appear that it is fir ek baar Modi Sarkar.
In fact, if we could bring
Smita
up the
Prakash,
first graphic again, which looks at the UP numbers and the Tamil Nadu numbers as well. These are very important because if you look at the UP poll of polls, again, the losses for the BJP don't seem to be that significant. The BJP plus at 44, I mean, they are there, but not as much as perhaps the Gathbandhan would have hoped. But Tamil Nadu also interesting because it's not showing a
Yes.
sweep for
which
the
is what
DMK
many people
Congress.
had assumed.
Which-
that the
yes,
DMK
which
Congress
was
was going
an
to repeat
assumption.
what happened in 2014, that they were going to win almost all of the 38
So,
seats.
Smita Prakash is here, the editor of ANI. Smita, your first thoughts on these numbers as they're coming in?
Exit poll, so I will take it with a little pinch of salt. But yeah, I mean, on the ground, many of us who travel, most of the states that we saw, I don't think there's much of a surprise. Yes, in some states like in Orissa, I don't think any of us thought that these would be the numbers. Yes, there would be gains for the BJP, but 50-50 was something which is like quite phenomenal. Uttar Pradesh, they really, they couldn't have topped what they did in 2014. What one saw was that, even though everybody was the others, I mean, not BJP, but the others were claiming that they had their caste arithmetic together, on the ground, there was some last mile delivery as far as BJP schemes were concerned. Of course, it wasn't fabulous in the sense that, you know, where they had put up the toilets, the Izzat Ghar as they called them, some of them there was no water connectivity, there was no cleanliness, the schools didn't have children, the schools had been set up, the Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, the kids, the girls, they were still dropout. So there was a problem in many areas. Swachh Bharat had not filtered into the cities. In Mathura, there was a lot of anger, the potato farmers, all these things are there. In spite of that, there was something like Ujjwala had reached in some areas. The bathrooms had been constructed in some areas. So there was also this hope in many areas in Uttar Pradesh. I have traveled 3 times there. And in all these areas, there was this thing of believing that Modi will be able to deliver, not
give
the
him
candidate.
another chance to actually,
not the candidate. In many other states, like in South India, Modi wasn't even a factor in many of these areas because it was the candidate and the local politics
but more
that
in the Hindi heartland,
mattered.
you're saying.
In Karnataka was the only option in South India out of the 5 states that one saw that it was Modi, and in spite of Modi speaking in Hindi or Amit Shah speaking in Hindi, in spite of that it clicked. Whereas in Kerala and in Tamil Nadu they needed translators. In Karnataka they just didn't even need that.
It'd be interesting to see what the Bengal numbers are, because
yes, that's something that we're still waiting
if they're
for.
crossing that 300 mark, then there are gains there
Very
as well.
interesting in Bengal also. I mean, you know, this is probably something that the biggest fight that we saw. Nobody gave a fight to Modi as Mamta did. Nobody, not Mayawati, not Akhilesh, not Rahul, nobody. Even though the only party to have a pan-India presence other than the BJP is probably the Congress. But you did not see that fire and brimstone that you saw in Mamta. And she gave it her all, whether it was to protect her region, her vote share or her seats, but she gave it her all. You know, she
in fact,
completely.
There are 2 polls for Bengal, Vasu, if you want to, they're just coming up.
Sure. Yeah, because so far, for some reason, we've not been actually getting too many numbers from Bengal. So it'll be good to see exactly what is happening from there. So we're just waiting on the Bengal numbers. But while we wait, there's Assam. So BJP plus AGP 9, Congress 4. Here we go with the Bengal numbers. So this is showing that the TMC is at about 28, at BJP 11. This is Times Now VMR. And India News Polstrat, I have to confess, I haven't heard of Polstrat.
14. So
BJP
it's above 10.
At 14. So they have hit double digits.
Yeah, that's a good, very good performance.
That's a phenomenal performance.
Yeah, when I was talking to leaders in West Bengal, I mean, I think the reality of politics in West Bengal, as we know, is quite violent. They said they would be happy to get to double digits.
And just look at this now.
Look at
Republic
the Republic
Jan Ki Baat, 18 to 26 to the BJP. Republic C voters.
Like
so this is again, this is actually a little bit of a worrying thing because Republic does 2 polls. One they do with Jan Ki Baat and one they do with C voter. This is, I mean, it's not a great thing credibility wise. But anyway, just look at the numbers though that they're throwing up.
Well, they're all, I mean, they're double digits, right, Neelanjan? I mean, that's what's going to be important.
Right. I mean,
they've translated that increase in vote share into seats.
None of the cadres believe the 23 number that Amit Shah was throwing around, but they said that we'll be happy if we can hit double digits, and we're seeing a swell of support. And based on these numbers, it looks like that's right around what they're getting to.
So, just to ask you, Bhaskar Ghosh, that are you ready to distribute laddus yet?
You can start here.
Yes, you can start this way and work your way around. No, but you know, the thing about West Bengal is one of the states I didn't travel to, but everyone that one spoke to said that yes, the BJP was definitely going to emerge as the number 2 party. There'd be a huge jump in vote share. But everyone was wary of predicting numbers.
Well, you know, by the way, the polls is showing the BJP at 15 in Bengal. So that's
I'm the
damn
person
good.
who has been working in a grassroots level over there. And I just finished the poll in West Midnapur, which is one of the most violent place. And I was the main person of coordinations and everything over there. Let me give an example to you that there is 1930 booths are there in West Midnapur. Out of 1930 booths, we have asked repolling of only 15 booths. And the day we are doing this, you know, after the election day, you have a scrutiny day. And then the scrutiny, it was, benchmark was kept as 80%.
Right.
80% is the benchmark. That is plus 15% of 80% or minus 15% will be repolled or will be sent for the repolling. So the Bengal, if you see the whole history of Bengal for last 40 years, whenever Bengal has chosen to be opted to be a transformation, they have done as a sweep. And here I see that 85% is the polling in West Midnapur, which is the most violent area. My car was attacked 2 times and it was broken. But when I went to the booth to booth, I found people are just holding my hands and they're telling, don't worry, we are with you.
But this is not a sweep. And sweep,
I'm telling why is sweep?
Once in
You've seen
it's a huge gain,
no.
but it's not a sweep.
No,
it's
I'm telling you,
gain,
again I'm telling on this camera today it will be a sweep. With
you're not even believing this?
Right.
Okay.
So I'm telling, I've seen Bengal, I've seen the cross Bengal, that now people has decided for a change. And that is why today somebody has talked that Mamata has fought, perhaps Mamata has fought. Mamata has not fought. Mamata has taken the help of political terrorism or the violence
but that's
in order to, no, this is not the way to fight.
Ah,
the fight, you can see what we are fighting in Gujarat, what we fight in Maharashtra, what we fight in Tripura.
But isn't the BJP also accused of violence in West Bengal? Look what happened at the Vidyasagar
not at
University.
Vidyasagar, I was there, personally I was there in that, and I was just about 15 minutes ahead of Mr. Amit Shah's cavalcade. And when we was passing, I have almost been hit by a bottle of soda.
But
coming
we all
out
saw
from
those
there.
videos. But we all saw those videos.
Those are again. I can on
people
camera.
carrying saffron damaging the
camera,
statue.
I have videos which has not been published yet.
Anyway,
I can tell you because it was not only a procession. It was a very cultural procession. 5,000 dhakis was there, and we are going to honor Vivekananda. So we were not in mood, and the traveling distance was more than 8 kilometers. Almost we have finished 5 kilometers, and then it started. If we are that violent, then we should have done from the day one. And I have got the entire episode in my phone. But for Bengal, let me tell you.
But just overall, though, overall, again, does this demonstrate that the BJP is now able to position itself as the leading opposition party in states where it was virtually non-existent? So it's come into Orissa, it's replaced the Congress. Tripura. It's come into West Bengal, it's replaced the Congress on the left. Tripura again.
Assam.
This is changing the political map. If you compare 2014 to 2019, the map is going to look quite different.
Yeah, but Vasu, I think you're making a very important point here, because everywhere it's the Congress. See, so the states where the Congress goes head to head with the BJP does very well. In states where the Congress was the main opposition, the BJP is replacing the Congress.
Right.
So it is actually what you're seeing, and if these figures are correct, that on 23, so we're talking only on the basis of these figures, that basically what you're seeing is the death of the Congress party. And that space that's opening up is being taken over by the BJP.
And one more point.
It is, isn't it? I'm saying if these figures are
BJP versus
continuing
Congress.
decline.
No, BJP versus
slow death. Okay,
slow death.
Regional party.
Aarti Jairath has gone from death to slow death.
Slow death.
It's a natural death. It's a natural death.
Natural death.
Then
slow death.
BJP, which is taking
Congress
that
is one
space.
party. You know, just 6 months back, there are 3 major states which they had won. And this was something any political party, I mean, it would have been a boost in their confidence, in their cadre, they would have been like, and they should be the one who should have been calling the shots with the other opposition parties in, in making alliances. But that something does not happen.
So Aishwarya Mahadev is here.
So the point is that it was a fluke.
Do we blame the
They cannot deliver what they have promised.
That they couldn't get
They
the
cannot
alliance.
deliver what they have promised. They cannot deliver to the farmers. They cannot deliver to the
Okay, let's go to the poor Congress.
They within 10 days. They told within 10 days, and now 6 months has lapsed. Nothing they have done.
Okay, let me try to ask Aishwarya Mahadev. Aishwarya Mahadev, firstly, your quick response to these exit poll numbers. Again, with all the health riders, that this is an exit poll. But if these numbers are to be true, what would you say would be the big learnings from you as to the potential mistakes you may have made in this campaign?
I think, very honestly, that I will wait till the 23rd, because the highest accuracy we've seen of any of these polls in the past 2 elections, and even the previous general election, is somewhere around 38%. But let's not talk about the logistics and the technicalities of it. But the fact of the matter is, I don't think anybody can negate the fact, and I completely disagree with Ms. Aarti about this, that I don't think the Congress is dying. I think that at some point when we were reduced to 44 and we went back to the drawing board, and you've seen the sort of work that we've done, whether it's 3 states or not, you can call it a fluke, you can call it what you want, but since Gujarat, you've seen that the Congress cadre has really rallied. Obviously, these numbers look disappointing, but I don't think so. Even with the 3 states, the numbers we saw were extremely disappointing, but on the day of the results, we obviously walked away with our heads held high for the fact that we had 3 wins. I think at the end of it that the Congress party has learned a few critical, essential lessons out of all of this. Very simple fact is that no matter what you say, what you do, no matter how intellectual, intelligent and capable anybody is, unless you have a cadre and a ground working for you, there is no way you're going to win elections. Elections are not determined in parliament, they're determined on the ground by who will give you the votes, and the Congress has really made that change. Whether you look at Uttar Pradesh and the way Ms. Priyanka Gandhi has worked, and across all states that we've made an active effort.
Sorry to jump in there, but when you say a learning, because what these results show is that learning has not translated onto the ground. And I think for those of us who traveled on the ground, one really couldn't see this mythical Congress cadre. They were still largely absent.
I don't necessarily believe so, but I think the one thing that people have refused to take into account is the phenomena of the silent voter that everybody seems to be talking about. At some point, you cannot deny that there are people that have literally not come out and said anything. These numbers are not representative of the 60, 70 odd million people who are voters.
No, but you're not pivoting. You're saying now, so you're pivoting.
They can't all be. I think the point, Aishwarya, is that every single exit poll is showing the same thing. The range may be different. It may be 282 in one poll. It may be 305 in another. But what they're essentially showing is the same thing, which is that Mr. Modi is coming back and that the BJP is not making significant losses. If anything, they seem to be holding on to what they had won in 2014 and coming close to the 2014 number. So are all of these polls wrong? Not one poll is showing
I think
the BJP below 282.
Even psephologists agree that when you do exit polls, they're probably best poised for 2-party contests, which is why in the US you still call them better than here. But without getting into that, the fact is I think you've seriously underestimated the other opposition parties, including the regional parties, and I think that is something that very seriously has to be taken into account. The Congress party is not going to say we are this, the largest party besides the BJP, but the regional parties, especially looking at a lot of states and UP
but
specifically.
They're doing better than you. As per these polls, it's the Congress that's getting wiped out in those head-to-head contests in states. It's actually, it's a setback for Mamta, it's a setback for the others, but you guys are polling the lowest in a head-to-head contest with the BJP.
From a 44 to 126 somewhere, Nidhi, even if I may opt into that pessimistic argument, I don't think we're getting wiped out. I don't think we are. And on 23rd, I think I'll be sitting here saying the same thing. That I don't think we are going to do as badly as these polls are poised at.
Let's take this trend as believable.
Yes.
What does it show? It shows that Congress plus in almost all of them is 100 plus. 2014, Congress was 44 seats. Now, if the Congress doubles, is it the death of Congress? Or is it revival of the Congress? Not revival to the extent of challenging the BJP. That may not happen if these exit polls they turn out to be true.
Right.
But the point to make is it the death of Congress?
Okay. So you're saying it's
or is it revival of the Congress?
Smita, I'll come to you, but DP Tripathi of the NCP's also been waiting patiently. Let's go across to him as well. DP Tripathi, now what do you make of it? Because again, do you see the Congress as the weak link in the fight against the BJP? Sure, they may have improved their tally from last time, but it was nowhere as good enough as what they could have done.
See, Rajdeep, I believe that politics
not Rajdeep, Srinivasan, but doesn't matter, sir.
Neither psychological. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
No, I know. अरे गड़बड़ तो कभी होता नहीं, कैसे गड़बड़ हो गया?
कोई बात नहीं, बहुत सारे चैनल्स हैं आजकल. They're all doing lives continuously, so it happens.
अच्छा श्रीनिवास, अरे Srini, it is all right. Srini, see, my formulation is seeing the elections, especially since 1971.
Sir.
That politics in India is neither psephological nor astrological, it is logical.
Okay.
Like against all
That's a
these
good
surveys
one-liner.
and exit polls which you are showing, I have just 3 points. Those points are, number one, that BJP was either 100% or near 100% in 9 states of India in 2014.
Yes.
Are they going to repeat it? That is number one. Second, only in UP they will have minimum loss of 46 seats. 46. Okay. And whatever the surveys are showing about Tamil Nadu, there the ADMK factions are going to be wiped out. It will be DMK and its allies. Of course, BJP will get 1 Kanyakumari seat, possibly maybe 2 seats. Andhra Pradesh nil, Telangana nil, Karnataka also they will have lesser number of seats than they got. In no state of India except Orissa, West Bengal and Tripura, BJP is going to get more seats than 2014. So from where they are going to get these 300 odd, and if I go by all these surveys, then they will get more than 400 seats, NDA included, which is not possible, which I don't think even the BJP leadership is thinking about.
Well, we've got the first,
Plus,
Mr. Tripathi, we've just
other
got the first
participants have
data.
said it, I do not
the
want
first
to
data
repeat
that's
it.
actually slightly different. As far as these polls are concerned, from UP, the ABP exit poll, Neelanjan, is the only one giving a completely different figure from UP. It's actually saying that the BJP is going to suffer a big setback there with 56 seats for the Gathbandhan versus 22 for the BJP. Now, this is completely different from what all the other polls are saying so far, which means it's kind of confusing what's going on in UP.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's confusing. If we look at the poll of polls, it's still broadly within the range.
One second, Mr. Tripathi, just coming back to you, sir. Just give us a moment. Yeah.
It's broadly within the range of reliability. You know, the question is, is BJP in the upper part of that range or the lower part of that range? I think most people were saying somewhere between 25 and 50,
right.
And the average was right at that midpoint, right? If you just added SP and
25
BSP
and 50
vote share.
there's a big difference, no?
There's a big difference, right? But it's actually probably a difference of a few percentage points, right? And those things are very, very hard to pick up in an exit poll.
Which is why you're saying that the range is the way that it is.
Yeah, the range is the way that it is. I mean, broadly, it's the other states actually where, you know, if we were, this is my sort of classic data points, there's 6 states in which the BJP won 70% of its seats, right? Bihar, MP, Rajasthan, UP, Gujarat and Maharashtra. If you look at it, the only place that seems to have changed is actually UP. I mean, the Gathbandhan in that way delivered. It's just nobody else did.
Right. So in that sense, it's pretty much a repeat of...
poll is sort of fits in much more with my sense on the ground as I travel through UP.
The ABP one.
The ABP one, yeah, because it's giving the BJP 22 seats.
Yeah.
And as I told you at the beginning of this program, that's what I sensed when I traveled through UP, that the BJP was heading for a slide down.
If you just added up what both sides voted for last time in 2014, if the BSP and SP votes were added and the BJP's vote share, if all the vote shares remain the same, the BJP was already down to 37, roughly, right? So in that sense, if the voting was exactly the same, if vote shares of all parties stayed the same, the BJP's starting point was 37. So it started off with that. So if it's managed to gain from that, good for them. But if they slipped, as this suggests, then it does indicate that the Gathbandhan was effective.
No, and that there were cracks in the BJP's social coalition. That's why the seats have come down. There's been an attrition in their vote share.
Just one quick point there. I think we'll have to go and see what happens on the 23rd.
Yeah,
but there's a very good chance that there was vote splitting among the anti-BJP vote, right? If Congress was sufficiently strong, you can have a number of seats where Congress actually played spoiler for the Gathbandhan. We don't know actually.
Which is what conventional wisdom is saying on the ground, that the Priyanka Gandhi factor actually went against the Gathbandhan. But
that's not
your
what my sense at all. I sense that the Gathbandhan voters were very, very much moving towards the Gathbandhan. The Congress was not a distraction for them at all.
So if you actually look at the All India poll of polls, actually it's going up for the NDA. It's now at 306. We started at about 300, and it's 306.
I wonder if that includes the ABP number though, or maybe the ABP is not been added to this yet.
Yeah, because ABP hasn't given an All India figure yet. We're still waiting for that.
Is Amitabh, I think you wanted to come in.
Yeah, I just wanted to make the point that even if we accept these numbers at face value, this is a projection with an error range. we're sort of treating it as an actual outcome in our conversation. So on one end, the BJP could end up with a repeat of 2014 if it does better, or something close to it. But at the other end, you could, and if you look at the last three Lok Sabha projections, they were about 40 seats off from what happened. If this is an overestimate by about the same margin, you end up with an NDA at about 260 and a UPA at about 165, 170. And if that outcome happens, then it's a different world we're in from what we're assuming right now. So I think we should remember that even if we accept these polls, there is still an error margin which could lead to very different outcomes.
Okay, all right. Well, that's true. There is an error margin, but could it be that much of a margin? That's
it was in the
we'll
last three opinion polls. They were off 2004, 2009, 2014 by about that much.
Okay, take a short break. Come back with much more. Okay, welcome back to the poll of exit polls, which, as we've been saying, is suggesting that it is fir ek baar Modi Sarkar. With what number they will come back according to these exit polls, there's a slight variation, but broadly they seem to be doing pretty much as well as they did last time, with the numbers ranging for the BJP plus anywhere from 300 upwards. Some of these exits are actually even suggesting going up to almost 330. So we'll have to wait and see what sort of average that comes down to. But let's just again step back and really look at what could have been the reasons that are driving this. Sudhinder Kulkarni, again going back to where we started off, that this suggestion of a BJP downturn in December in the assembly polls, and then things started turning around. And would you say to that extent that the BJP's steps, the proactive steps it took, both in terms of policy, whether it was PM Kisan, whether it was the 10% reservation for the upper caste, the aggressive campaign it ran centered around Mr. Modi's image, where he said, vote button dabao to vote Modi ko jayega, BJP ko nahi, Modi ko jayega, and of course playing this hard nationalistic card has paid off.
If these broad projections hold true, then the reasons, two big reasons. One, that Balakot surgical strike and the manner in which it was projected has helped the BJP and Modi in a very big way. Second, the disunity in the Congress, in the opposition space, also has helped in states where it's not straight BJP versus Congress. It has helped the BJP, such as
Rajasthan,
or I'm talking about the disunity in the opposition. Take Delhi itself, for example, or even West Bengal. West Bengal is a four-cornered contest. There is one party that is being challenged by three others separately, left, TMC and Congress. So the inability of the opposition parties to come together on a national alliance has certainly helped the BJP in a very big way. And then, of course, as you said, Modi's own self-projection as a strong leader, and the media played a very big role. Now, all this, assuming that this is all, these projections are right.
With all the health warnings.
I would like to point out that what DP Tripathi said needs to be debated in greater depth, because
which part of what he said?
NCP, the NCP leader.
No, but
he said that 2014, almost all the bulk of the seats came from North India, very little from South India except Karnataka. And even now, Karnataka, the BJP is making, if these numbers are right, is making a gain of only one seat from 17 to 18.
No, but the big difference,
which means that the BJP will have to actually gain everything that they did in the northern states, plus some additions in Odisha
are showing gains in Odisha and
Bengal. But they are not really very, very big.
To warrant 300 plus.
Which means, therefore, logically, is that going to happen?
Well, if you look at it, the BJP and the NDA at the more conservative end of the spectrum, the average of the polls, which is showing 300, is showing that they've dropped about 30, right, from last time.
I have just one question.
So there is a drop, but it's not a significant enough drop to not take them over the halfway mark. So that factors in the attrition in the North Indian states, which is saturated. It factors in a drop in Uttar Pradesh and the gains that they've made in the east. So in that sense, the map of 2019 is looking different from the map of 2014, which was largely a saturation in the north and west, and the strike rate in the south and east was only about 20% It was about 70-80% in the north and west. Now that's changing. Now the strike rate even in the east appears to be
just
better.
a quick update. The ABP Nielsen numbers are finally here. They're showing the NDA at 267 with the BJP at 218 and the UPA at 127 with the Congress at 81 and the others at 148. Now this is the only poll which is showing something completely...
This is the only outlier there.
The only outlier, Neelanjan.
It could be the big winner, right? I mean we've seen outlier polls get it before. We got it in Chhattisgarh, in Delhi, and so I don't want to get into the business of who's right and who's wrong. It depends on people's methodology, how they're converting seats. But let me also say that you can actually predict very similar vote shares and still very quickly jump from 260 seats to 300 seats. I mean, I think that this is still, you can actually have very much two polling agencies or even the same polling agency run the same survey twice, and one time they could get 270, 260 seats, the next time they could get 300.
But you know, even then, even if you went, Aarti, by the ABP poll, 267 for the NDA, I mean, they're still home. I mean, you need
Absolutely.
ultimately it comes down to the same thing.
Exactly.
What Vasu is saying.
Right.
Mr. Modi is coming back.
Only the figure is changing. The status is same. Status is same.
Yeah, absolutely.
And see, one more
but you
point
know,
I just want to mention.
This ABP Nielsen poll is quite interesting because ABP Nielsen is not known as an outlier pollster. Actually, ABP Nielsen is a very conservative pollster. So I'm really surprised that they have come out with numbers that are so different from the rest. And I really don't know what it means.
When I said outlier only, I meant in the sense that they're very different numbers to what everyone else is projecting.
A very conservative polling
agency.
Yes,
just one point I want to mention.
And the main reason why their numbers are so different is because for UP, they're showing a terrible loss for the BJP, which the other states are not. Yes.
But tell me one thing, everyone is banking on UP losses and on that basis you're predicting.
No.
Tell me one thing, the reason, apart from UP, nowhere BJP is seeming to have a huge loss, maybe a plus minus, and if you see the east and northeast, but UP, let me ask you in the panel's question, that why we'll have lost so heavily? Because of there is Mahagathbandhan. But there is other issues of development, there are other issues of employment, other issues of farmers' issues are there with us. So why we should lose so heavily in UP, that I cannot understand.
No, those claims, by the way, are contestable claims. It's not, you can't make a sweeping generalization that there's just been uniform vikas. The situation in Uttar Pradesh is pretty bad.
So what I'm saying, the entire discussion is hovering around on one axis that UP loss is 50, so where are you going to gain, and therefore you cannot cross 300 marks. But why we will lose so much in UP? Because recent election, if you see, those are by-elections, and other events which is happening in UP doesn't show that we'll have such a huge loss.
No, but sir, when one talks of the when you talk, they're not by-elections, they're assembly elections. And the issues that came up there, whether it was rural distress, whether it was unemployment, whether it was demonetization, these are all real issues. And you go on the ground and you see that.
Srinivasan,
so you may be able to overcome that through other ways.
Everyone is talking about
demonetization
and GST. If the demonetization GST has really hit up this UP, what about other states? Why we are gaining? Why we are gaining in Bengal? Why we are gaining in Odisha? We are getting
in the state elections. There was also the anti-incumbency factor. You had 3-term, 2-term,
15 years terms. So
3-term. Hence, there were several factors why the state elections they lost.
But even Madhya Pradesh, I have not lost in percentage.
In this election, if these are the right numbers,
it was more percentage
shows
in
that
Madhya
there is
Pradesh.
no anti-incumbency against Modi government across the country.
Pro-incumbency.
Right? If in Uttar Pradesh they are making gains, it's probably because of the novelty factor of the Gathbandhan, that people who have voted for the Gathbandhan probably want to know what it is that they are promising.
We also have Mr. Hanan Molla of the CPM joining us at this time. Mr. Molla, what do you make of these numbers so far?
You know, as I noted that different result of this exit poll, there is a pattern. It looks a pattern. All these exit poll giving Modi, bringing him to the power, there is a pattern. Only ABP has a different figures. But this pattern, you know, it shows that this pattern was developed during the entire rule of BJP and entire period of the election, because 99% of the propaganda created by the media that Modi will come, he'll be big way, he's coming. And all his electronic media, all the 280 rally or something of Modi are directly telecast everywhere. They try to reach to the people. So these things has created an atmosphere, and in that atmosphere, this poll, that exit poll is also created to establish that atmosphere in election result, as I say. But because only this figure they are saying, where they will get it? From south they are not getting. They will get less seat in Maharashtra than Rajasthan, and where they had big number. But other states, yes, some gain were there, where anti-incumbency is there in Bengal and Odisha. Some gain may be there, but only with that gain, if we imagine that they will cross 300, it is only to establish the propaganda media build up for last 6 months, to establish that propaganda as a result.
All right, you're saying it's propaganda, which is actually something very similar to what Mamata Banerjee just tweeted as well, calling it exit poll gossip. And she goes on to say the game plan is to manipulate or replace thousands of EVMs through this gossip. And I appeal to all opposition. So just one moment, I appeal to all opposition parties to be united, and we will fight this battle together. This is a bit of a problematic argument.
Somebody kidnapping those EVMs.
Yeah, because the moment
you can't get into conspiracy theorizing.
To float these conspiracy balloons if things are not going your way is frankly unfair. I mean, you wouldn't be doing this.
This is the brainchild of Mamata Banerjee's fertile brain. That okay, so EVMs are either hijacked or EVMs are been hacked. So a lot of new ideas we have got from Mamata Banerjee.
But let's not end of the day, ECI didn't open the door to this. Yes, this is a harebrained theory. But if the ECI had behaved beyond reproach, then everyone would be laughing, including in the opposition. And the problem today, I don't believe this EVM theory. I don't, right? But the problem today is that there are serious questions about whether the ECI has run a fair election, whether we like it or not, whether that's fair or not.
Right? No,
but that's why these things can.
No, if you're talking about with reference to Bengal, it is debatable. But question is that in other states, tell me, apart from Bengal, no other states has gotten serious allegation against ECI. All the allegation has come from only one desk. The desk of Mamata Banerjee, no one else.
No, that's not true. The Congress went with 11 complaints against the Prime Minister, all of which were dumped by the ECI.
Clean chits and all.
All of them.
No, one of the election commissioners himself has dissented.
In fact, one of the surest signs that the opposition is actually probably taking this exit poll seriously, Aarti, is Mamata's tweet. Because the moment you start floating conspiracy theories about EVMs and all, I mean, come on.
And I really worry about this. Because, as we know, the politics of Bengal tends to be violent. We know that Mamata Banerjee is a street fighter. If the election results...
I want to mention, he's not violent because he's a street fighter. But street fighting and violence is different thing.
I said them in 2 different sentences.
Yeah, but street fighter is something else.
Okay, let her finish. Yes.
So I'm just saying that I'm just worried that, suppose this whole thing spills out onto the streets in Bengal when the results... If the results come out this way. Suppose, I'm just assuming that these are... if the results come out this way, suppose this whole thing spills out onto the streets.
Well, that's the
it's
fear
a
that
very,
BJP
very
has
dangerous
already expressed.
trend.
Nirmala Sitharaman in her address today at the BJP said that she is scared and she wants, and the BJP wants central forces in West Bengal stationed there because they are scared. And she used the word Narsanghar, which is like massacre.
And
they expect massacre on the streets,
which
is again another extreme. No, that's another extreme. Like what you were saying, that she has fertile imagination, Mamata has fertile imagination. This also to expect that there will be massacre on the roads and blood.
That's what Mamata has given a public statement.
But
we will see inch
by
by
that
inch.
both sides with their extreme imaginations,
what will they do? We will see inch by inch.
And maybe what he said was that the media has to play its role in just calming tempers down and making sure that everybody believes the results when they come out and not believe in conspiracy theories that they've been hacked and it's fake and the results are wrong and everything is wrong. And the other thing is, if I may get 30 seconds to defend the media, I know media is like really horrible in this day and age. But to say that everything is because the rallies were telecast 24/7, nobody stopped anybody else from holding the rallies. If the rallies went by Rahul's or Priyanka's or anything, those road shows, those rallies were also carried. It was very nice for all the TV channels because they had to sit back from their programming and carry the road shows and the rallies live. So everybody's was carried live. It's your perception to see that which was propaganda and which is not.
Okay. Amitabh, if I can just bring you in, that again, just assuming that these results are correct, on this entire debate about what was working for the BJP, what was turning things around for them, on the point about Vikas and development, you work with data, and there's a lot of contestation on this government's economic track record. So assuming that it's not been the best track record, in fact, there are indications that the economy is not in the best shape, it may even be heading into a slowdown, how would you then explain the fact that that has not actually caused any great political damage?
See, again, if these results are even remotely true, it is a success for a presidential campaign centered around an individual. It's not a success of an issue-based campaign, which the Congress party tried to run, because anyone who's been on the ground has seen the economic reality. The cattle in Uttar Pradesh are called Modi Yogi. That tells you something about what people think about the cattle problem and where it comes from. Agrarian distress is not an invention of the Congress party, opposition parties. Everyone has observed it. Unemployment remains an issue. So if these are actually anything like the results that come out on Thursday, it means that a pure presidential personality, emotion-driven campaign has triumphed over many of these issues. You could argue it's a failure of the opposition, you could argue it's a success of Mr. Modi, but this is a very different election from the elections we have seen until 2014. And we can deconstruct why and how and so on. But it's not really about the issues. I think the opposition picked up the issues, the opposition ran with the issues. And if the voter has gone a different way, it's for another reason.
They didn't pick up the issues. I disagree. I think the opposition did not pick up the issues, because if you see the opposition's speeches, if we talk about just Rahul Gandhi as the leader of the opposition at this stage, he's still stuck with Rafale, and did not pick up the agrarian crisis, did not pick up the issue about the cows, the stray cattle. When he was in Uttar Pradesh, it was Priyanka who picked up the issue about the stray cattle and things. That should have been an issue because it was really bothering. She picked up the issue about potato farmers. He didn't pick up the issue of potato farmers.
But she's in the opposition too,
he
right?
went on and on a script which for rally after rally, I mean every day, we were all in TV studios listening to all his rallies. He did not. Mayawati reads out from a prepared speech. Akhilesh was the only one who was doing this, connect with the masses, but he doesn't have an axe to grind in this election. He's looking at the assembly elections and he was not playing. But he provided the cadres to Priyanka and Congress party. The cadres that Congress had on the ground was actually Samajwadi Party.
About that. Aishwarya, just to get your thoughts on that. I mean, we've actually debated this quite a bit about whether Rafale as an issue was an issue that people on the ground really cared about beyond a point. It may be an important issue, but was it, an election issue, and should the focus perhaps have been far more on the bread and butter issues that affect people?
Nidhi, first of all, it's rich that Smita would talk about scripts of the opposition leaders. Well, we all know what Mr. Narendra Modi does. But besides all of that, the simple fact remains that if you had covered enough of the rallies, and if you had, and ANI itself has tweeted about it, it wasn't just Rafale. It was about agrarian distress, it was about jobs, it was about women's security. When he came to Karnataka, when he went all across, it wasn't just Rafale. The fact of the matter is the entire media would like to discredit Mr. Rahul Gandhi of saying he spoke only about Rafale, but tell me what we spoke about. We spoke about what we've done in the 3 states, whether it's loan waivers, whether the plan we want to bring out. Our manifesto is not a Sankalp Patra, but an entirely researched, nicely elaborated document of every single step that we're going to take. So do not turn around and say the opposition had no issues.
Fair enough.
And last I checked, Priyanka Gandhi is part of the Congress. Isn't that the opposition? So please, if Mr. Rahul Gandhi didn't pick it up, local leaders are doing it. In charges are doing it. And I don't think you should wipe off the fact that we haven't spoken about it.
Listen. I actually agree that it was not just about Rafale, because I've seen Rahul Gandhi rallies and he spoke about a spectrum of things. But the main slogan coming out of those rallies was Chaukidar Chor Hai. That almost became the Congress's default slogan for this campaign. Because of Rafale. Do you think Aishwarya, that slogan didn't at the end of the day cut any ice? People didn't see the Prime Minister and think Chaukidar Chor Hai.
You know, Srinivasan, if it did not cut any ice, I don't think the BJP would have had a maybe Chokidar campaign that was running around. And I think it took a life of its own. From Rafael, you saw that we said that the man who was supposed to guard us basically looted the entire country in terms of jobs. He looted the country in terms of the economy, the suppressed data. And at some point, you know, sir, I did not interrupt you while you said what you had to. I would respect if you don't do the same.
Coming to you.
Yeah, exactly. And that is why you see the
I can't understand what you're saying because you're talking over me. Let me finish. The fact of the matter is, it's not just Chokidar Chorhe in terms of what he did with letting people escape with a bounty of money, or even the people who ran away as economic fugitives. The fact of the matter is, he has stolen a lot and he's suppressed a lot more. And I think Chokidar Chorhe wasn't just Rafael. It took a life of its own, and it reflected far more in terms of what he's done for the farmers, or not rather, and about the jobs and all the lies that came out. The man that you trusted into power in 2014 seems to have betrayed you, and now is basically talking about, you know, obviously meditating in a cave, even though the code of conduct exists.
You have already got
and
the result
Pulwama
of all your,
and nationalism
all your
and
manifesto
maybe,
and all your
technology.
promises.
So please tell me,
now,
what has he done in 5 years? Why is he not talking about the issues?
So I think, okay, let's be over with that.
Okay.
What issues are you talking about?
I just want to
the
add
past
one
5 years?
small point
Absolutely nothing. Absolute hogwash of your 5 years. So you're using nationalism
Yeah,
as a
you
plank.
cannot see
You're
that, but
using
the rest of
literally
Indian
the election
130
commission is
crore
bending
people are
over
seeing it.
backwards
And
to
that's why they
accommodate you,
supported us.
and you
All right.
act like
And
you've
that
done
they have
anything
driven
for
you
this
out.
country in the 5
So
years.
please change
You
your-
should be
please change your
ashamed, sir,
slogans
to
and
be even
captions.
speaking
Okay,
and saying
okay.
you did anything in 5 years. You may have all the media houses
monologues,
backing
all right?
you here, or people without a spine, but that's not the truth, is it?
Okay, one at a time. Yes, Geeta Bhatt, come in, and then also I just want to go across live to our nerve center where we're tracking all these different polls. Sanket Upadhyay is going to be joining us in a second from there. Geeta Bhatt.
You see, when we talk about corruption, 2014 campaign, majority of the people of this country voted against, the corruption, the various scams that took place during the Congress and the UPA regime. And, at that time, the Prime Minister, as the one who was contesting, his pitch was this, that a corruption-free governance, that was one. And he has been able to deliver that. In the last Rafale, that is something which can be contested, like how it has been created, and, there is a lot of question marks on that. But besides that, the kind of scams we saw, in 2012 itself, we had a dozen scams, which came out within just 1 year. So, I think that also is one issue in which, which actually, especially in the urban areas, which also has been, a large number of people have been, satisfied in those terms that
Well, when one makes a sweeping generalization, the fact is that we don't know. We do not know what scams happened in the past 5 years, because all the investigating agencies were investigating and prosecuting opposition leaders. It was a blanket license to go after opposition leaders and critics of this government. Now, all governments do that, but to this extent. So, unless you actually start investigating, because there were question marks about potential financial
for example,
malpractices happening, especially in BJP-run states, those were never prosecuted.
You see, like Aishwarya talked about economic fugitives, but all these fugitives were created during the UPA period,
Well, if we get into Vijay Mallya and Nirav Modi, then we are going down a different road.
That is because there were no policies, but right now.
Okay, that's another debate. Let me just go across.
By which you can actually catch hold of the
fugitive. Leadership question really needs to be discussed, because I think there was a problem with this leadership issue on
the opposition side. That's a great point of debate. I'll come to that in a second, but let me just go across for a second to my colleague Sanket Upadhyay, who's in this sort of control room that we've set up to monitor all these exit polls, and that's a job in itself. Sanket, have you been having fun or tearing your hair out?
Oh, absolutely having a lot of fun. I'm having fun, but the people who are working on data analytics, they are tearing their hair. Now, let me quickly show you why the poll of polls of NDTV is far superior than any other poll of polls.
Okay.
It is because most pollsters, what they do is, when they carry out a poll of polls, they only look at the top 4 or 5 big polls. But just come into this room and I'll show you why this is a superior poll of polls.
Okay.
This is not just a national poll which is being monitored right here. It's not just polls of Hindi channels which is being monitored. You have Punjabi channels, you've got Odia channels, you've got Rajasthani channels, you've got Sakshi TV right here, a channel from Andhra Pradesh, you've got Sun News, Polymer News, the #1 channel from from Tamil Nadu, OTV right there, Kanak News monitoring Odisha. So when you monitor each and every poll carried out across the length and breadth of this country, collate that data, which is happening right here all around us. I'll ask the video journalist to show. That's when you get an accurate assessment, an accurate poll of polls. Also, that's what's happening right here in the election nerve center.
Right. No, that's terrific. So I think that's an important point you're making, Sanket, that it's not just looking at the national, exit polls, the ones that we are aware of, but it's also looking at what regional channels are saying as well.
Have you taken Republic Andhra Pradesh?
Oh, absolutely. Let me just show you. Look at these numbers. You've got Telugu channels being monitored. This is Asianet, a channel from Kerala being monitored. There are many who are doing poll of polls as well. Then there are others who are carrying out their own poll. See, sheets are being matched, data is being collated, and then it is being fed into this computer, the NDTV exit poll user entry. And that is collated and put out on the screen. So that's why we are saying that you want the accurate poll of polls, come right here to NDTV.
Okay, Sanket, just very quickly before we take a break, I just wanted to ask you that so far we've not got any numbers for the assembly results in Odisha and Andhra. Do we have anything at all on that in our from our monitoring?
Well, let me just check. Let me just check that with this desk right here monitoring Sakshi TV. Do you have the assembly numbers out just here? Are the assembly numbers for Andhra Pradesh out?
Yeah, it is like YSRCP 21.
No, that's for Lok Sabha. But you don't have assembly.
No,
there's Andhra Pradesh assembly. Okay, assembly numbers for Andhra Pradesh are not out. The Odisha desk is right here, and I don't think Odisha numbers are also not out. No, the assembly numbers. No, so the assembly numbers for Andhra Pradesh as well as Odisha are being monitored right here. They've not come just yet.
Okay, all right, interesting. But hopefully we'll have those soon as well. Sanket, thanks very much indeed for giving us the insight into our exit poll nerve center. Take a short break, come back with much more at the top of 8 o'clock.